Hello, Spiritual Center Spokane. This is Reverend Bonnie, and welcome tonight to our Tuesday evening talk and practice. I am so glad to be with you, whether it is live or sometime throughout the week. Love and blessings your way. Today, October 14th, was my father's birthday, and my dad was just such a man of heart and integrity. So, a big shout out of love and remembrance to appreciate that this will probably be one of the ways that God has brought me income is by dog sitting and house sitting. So this is a way, I guess, I will be supplementing my ministry income as I continue to be asked and I continue to say yes. So I am back at it. If you hear dogs in the background, I shut the door. So I'm hoping all is well. The next 5 weeks, I will be in a class at this time. So I will be pre recording my talks and uploading them. So they'll be available at 6 o'clock. And they will be done same day, just not live. They'll be done. Well, it's always live, right? Anyway, this week I the class I signed up for was a prosperity class. And one of the reasons why I signed up for it is to remember that God is my source. To remember that consciousness is cause, that consciousness is our perception, it's how we see the world. Consciousness with a capital C is the divine consciousness of God. It's the life force of the eternal in operation, thinking through us. Consciousness with a small c is our perception based upon our cultural exposure, the way that we process information, our opinions, how we formulate and put things together, etc. And so this past week, and especially this past week, although it has been coming on, has been for me one that has provided a little bit of iggles in my stomach. That I am noticing that I am feeling out of sorts with the country that I love so much, and that I'm seeing things that I find to be indications that there could be a downturn in the economy. Now, of course, I'm not an economist, but I do watch the news and I do read and talk to people. Obviously, that's my work. And with the government shutdown and with the concern around healthcare subsidies and healthcare being taken away, and with our government just giving $20 billion to Argentina and the ICE agents recruiting at $50,000, a signing bonus, and federal employees being fired and costs going up, and et cetera, et cetera, I just feel within me an uncertainty. And whenever this happens, I want to ground fully and completely in God as my source. I always do. That is my foundation. God, the divine presence, love itself, is the source of everything. I am here because that source said, let there be. And there was, and there is. And so, likewise, it is of service to my soul, to my being, and to my daily practice to remember who I am and where I come from. So, I signed up for a prosperity class to remind myself of this. And one of the books we're using is Prosperity, Plentitude, and Infinite Possibilities by my favorite Michael Beckwith. So I'm going to read a little bit of it to us tonight. And we're going to do some visualizing around prosperity and around well being for our own individual selves, our neighbors, and our country. So here we go. I am on page 28, and Reverend Michael says, So, to recap what we've done so far, we have expanded our point of view, perception, and paradigm by thinking of something outrageous that we don't know how to do so that the how doesn't interfere before we get into the feeling tone of the what. And so, New Thought and metaphysical teachers always tell us that when we're thinking about something that we desire or that we feel called to bring forth, when we are internally, when we have an internal desire, when we're called forward, when that happens, we um we are to think bigger and then bigger and then bigger and then bigger. So we are stretching our own individual conscious mind into something that is larger than our personality currently holds. So, for example, if I were to be teaching a class and I lean into it and I'm like, wow, I'd really like 10 people to show up to this class. Then the opportunity for me is to think bigger. It's to think of 15 people or 20 or 30 and feel the energy of it. Or it's to think maybe not class, but retreat, or maybe not retreat, but year-long program, or maybe not year-long program, but book. Whatever is bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I can still go back to the original desire of a class of 10, but the idea is that we have stretched our own capacity, our own mind, and stretched it so that we then rely upon the divine presence to help it be fulfilled. So the way I do it is just, as I explained, I go bigger and bigger and different models and bigger and different models and feel into, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this right action? Is this right action? And I will feel an energetic clunk that happens when it is indeed right. So Michael says, so to recap what we've done so far, we have expanded our point of view, perception, and paradigm by thinking of something outrageous. And it's outrageous to our mind that we don't know how to do so that the how doesn't interfere before we get into the feeling tone of the what. Next, we establish our intention and expanded our awareness of the spiritual qualities of prosperity and abundance so that they become the government under which we live. Then we recall what it feels like to have all of our needs met, and we entrain our mind and our nervous system around this truth. So, where Reverend Michael calls us into knowing that all of our needs are met is that throughout the day, he recommends that we stop, that we take a nice big breath. And as we breathe and allow our nervous system to rest, we say to ourselves, all of my needs are met. All of my needs are met. So, first of all, we think large and outrageous. We tune into what exactly is ours to do, and we trust that God fulfills it because our faith requires that we lean into something bigger than what we know is possible. And then all throughout the day, we remind ourselves that all of our needs are met. And we feel into that. We feel into all of our needs are met. And in that, we're activating the spiritual quality of prosperity. So he goes on to say it's worth noting that on a soul level, on a completely spiritual level, you know that all your needs are met. However, you've gotten caught in the undertow of human experiential domain and therefore see life through that perception. And that's what I was saying earlier, that I was giving my attention to what I'm seeing happen in form. And then I go, whoa, wait a minute. I need to pull back and remember that God is my source. So that's really important. Um, this generates emotions and defense mechanisms around that, as well as protective ways of being in the world, including immature wanting and acquisitive, acquisitive as an acquisition thinking. This is why we called the I am and I have spiritual faculty and activated it through contemplation and prayer to generate the feeling tones of all needs are met. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think I did a video on I am and I have. And so you may want to go back and watch that. But there is a Bible story, which is with Moses, where Moses is being called to go free the Israelites, and he's afraid. And he sees the burning bush that is not consuming itself, it is just on fire without going out. And he goes over to see what's going on, and the bush, which is that, and I actually love the visual of the fire that is not consumed, because that to me is a metaphor for the fire within us, that is the divine presence, that is the alive energy that we are, that is never consumed. And so he goes to the bush, and the bush tells him to go, that it's God, and he's to go free the Israelites. And he's frightened. And he's told, when you go see um, the Pharaoh, tell him that the I am sent you. So we come to learn that I am is words for God, and that, as Joel Osteen says, it calls forth a blessing. And so when we say, I am supplied and supported, I am loved and loving, I am the master of my own destiny. I am the son, the daughter, the presence of the Most High God. I am. That we are actually activating a spiritual principle in the field that cultivates an emness, a beingness of the divine presence. Then the I have, there are two different scriptures that talk about having. And one is the talents, where there's different amounts of money, talents that are given to different servants. And several of the people who received them invested and grew the money. And then the third person buried it so that they could be sure they would always have that one talent they were given. And so then the master says to the servants, look, to you I've already given to, I'm going to give more, because you've been able to demonstrate that you can grow what you're given. Where the hoarder, I'm taking away what I gave him. So the idea is, if we have, to them that have, more is given. So when we say I have, then that's what we are ordering for more of. So when we say I am abundantly supplied and I have resources, then the I am is our nature, and the I have is that which we are calling forth more of. And so Michael says here, this is what I recalled, the I am and the I have spiritual faculty, and activated it through contemplation and prayer to generate the feeling tones that all needs are met. He goes on to say, and I circled this one in here. Can we see my circle? There, we could see the circle because I like this one so much. The domain of plenitude, and I love that word, plenty. The domain of plenitude and abundance is the field in which we live. However, we have subconscious and even conscious filters through which we see, that determines our perception, conversation, decision making, actions, and choices. And so we want to have a level of spiritual discernment so that we're able to tell the difference between whether we're operating through a filter or we're operating from the truth. So you and I, through our consciousness, have a filter. And when I used to teach this, I would get those Play-Doh machines, and you put the Play-Doh in, and you push it. You have a slide rule that has different shapes, and you would put the Play-Doh in, and and out would come a circle, or out would come a moon, or out would come a square. And it says that whatever the filter is the form in which the consciousness will come. And so the the words of Reverend Michael says, we can tell the difference between the Play-Doh and the shape it came in. He says here, let me go back to my circle. We want to have a level of spiritual discernment so that we're able to tell the difference between whether we're operating through a filter or through truth. So, so are we operating as the Play-Doh or as the filter or the shape that it's coming out as? Great question. Okay, so the following page, this is Prosperity 101. Your good does not come from a present condition being a certain way. And this is, I think, one of the most difficult things and the most powerful things to learn as a spiritual being is that everything we see in physical form that is happening now was once in somebody's mind that has been made a reality. So it is old news. It is the past in physical form. And so, Prosperity 101, your good does not come from a present condition being a certain way. So, because you and I have power in our minds, we have power of discernment, we have power to create, then we are not dependent on present condition. And this is where, when I was saying that my stomach felt kind of icky from what I've been seeing in the last several weeks politically and not liking it, that I am looking at a form, a situation that had been created in someone's mind before. And if I put my life's energy into that, I'm empowering it. If I put my life's energy into my soul, if I keep it internally and get clear about me and mine and then express it, then there's a different reality that can happen. So this is Prosperity 101. Your good does not come from a present condition being a certain way. It's Prosperity 101, but it is one of the most difficult spiritual principles to really grok, that anything that is happening right now came out of a past, and that you and I have a power and a presence in consciousness and in behavior to shift anything. This doesn't mean that in the human world you don't work, lobby, or vote to change conditions and make things better for people. You absolutely can and should. But what I'm saying is that the genesis of prosperity and abundance, health and well being, and all the spiritual qualities are not determined by conditions, but by consciousness. This is where the rubber hits the road. Are you willing to be discerning of a condition without being caught up in it? Very beautiful. Thank you so much, Reverend Michael. All right. So, whew. So what we have talked about thus far is that in the prosperity book that Reverend Michael has written, he says that when we have an idea, an inspired idea from divine mind, we sit with it and we ask ourselves about bigger. That what we are wanting to do, let me say, and I'm making this up, but let me say that my daughter doesn't have health coverage, and she does. I'm making this up. So my idea is to create a product or a service that would generate revenue to be able to support her in having that. This idea of thinking bigger means that I start to think, well, gosh, she's not the only mother that doesn't have that. What about other mothers in our city? And then maybe what about other mothers in the country? And then what about people who aren't mothers? And then what about, and thinking bigger, 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 bigger. And then landing that and when I say think about it, what I mean is to feel into it, to experience it, to know it, to be with it, and then go, "Ah, I know what I'm called to do. I am called to hold a rally. I am called to do a letter writing campaign. I am called whatever it is and at whatever size it is, but knowing that God that gave me the concept, that gave me the idea, is funding through its resources. And what I mean by that is, yes, finances, but also energy, other people coming forward, that it is collectively holding and funding this idea to come into fruition. So I have to rely on something bigger than me because I myself can't do it. So we go bigger. And then our ongoing practice is to stop throughout the day, to breathe deeply, and to remind ourselves that I am sourced and resourced by the presence of God. All my needs are met. All of my needs are met. And then when we are going about our day and we get caught up in something, we stop and say to ourselves, spiritually discerning, what am I getting caught up in? Is this something that is from the past, or is this God? Is this a shadow, or is this reality with a capital R? So, that's what we have so far, and how exciting is that? It's very exciting. So, I wanted us to do some visualization tonight, and again, I thank you for being here, and I do talk and practice because I have been asked by many of you to talk about what happens in my mind and behind the scenes of my being as a spiritual as somebody who's committed to a spiritual life so that it is transparent. And so I'm telling on myself all the time, and it's weird and it's uncomfortable, but it is what I promised. So let's go ahead and let's feel our feet on the ground. And let's like move our shoulders a little bit, our necks. Ah. Let's inhale and exhale. Mm. And as we're feeling our feet on the ground, we're giving our attention to the space and the place between the bottom of our feet and the top of the ground. There is something spiritually awakening when we're able to enter into between spaces. So we practice it in many ways. And right now we're practicing feeling the space between where the bottom of our feet begins and the top of the ground begins. And we're feeling into that space between. And we continue to leave our attention between our feet and the ground. And as we just feel into that energy, I'm just going to remind you how incredibly holy the ground is, as came through the story of the burning bush, and how extremely holy your body temple is. And the two of them meeting is quite a beautiful communion. And now I would like you to activate love in your heart and in your body temple. And some of you are so well practiced that you could just tell yourself to activate love and your heart opens and energy starts moving. And for others, you need to think about someone or something that you love, a sunset or an animal or a person or a beautiful piece of art, just something that you love, and just allow yourself to sit in that field of love. And so, with our feet firmly planted on the ground and with our heart opened and our body, our being feeling love within us and feeling love around us, I invite you to think of your neighbors in your neighborhood. However, you do that, come up with a symbol. If you live in an apartment complex, maybe you see your apartment complex. I live in a neighborhood, and so I could see the name of the street that I live on. But go with the symbol of the neighbors in your place and just allow their energy to be in your heart. And now just visualize and feel that they are healthy and everything that they need to be healthy, they have. They have the healthcare coverage, they have the copay money, they have the medications or the supplements, they have the massages or the body adjustments, whatever it is that their bodily needs are met so that they are absolutely shining with health. And this is really lovely to do, especially if someone isn't visually showing their health to you right now, because that goes back to that what is right now is exists from past. And so we're creating a new future consciously. And so we're just going to see the neighbors that we love, the symbol of our neighbors, as healthy, as whole, as happy, as well, as supplied. Hmm. And now let's add ourselves to that picture, seeing and feeling into yourself, being healthy and happy and having all your needs taken care of and you being provided for. Oh, that just makes my heart so delight filled. Ooh. And now with the open-heartedness and the visualization of those in your neighborhood, add the map of the United States. Allow yourself to lean into our country. And this is what I know, the divine presence of God that is pure love wants the best for all of us. And so I trust there's something going on behind the scenes that is so magnificent that I can't even come up with it in my consciousness, in my Bonnie consciousness, that there is something so spectacular going on. And so I just hold that space for the unfoldment of the good and the glory, not only through me and not only through the neighborhood, but also through the United States of America. And I feel into it. Oh, I just feel into that energy of love. I feel into the energy of oneness. I feel into the energy of unity. All of our collective needs are met. I don't know how, like Reverend Michael says, I don't need to know the how. I just know the what. I don't know how homeless ends in Spokane, in the United States, but I know in consciousness it can. So I hold that to be true. I don't know how health coverage happens for every single American, but I know that it can. And so I just hold that to be true. And it feels good. It feels good to leave the field of what I see in physical form that is happening today and to enter into the field of consciousness that is timeless. And so I feel the energy of the oneness, of the unity. Oh, and it just feels so, so, so good. Mm. And from this place of inclusion, from this place of oneness, from this place of the feeling tone of all needs met, I just invite you to bring in any other desire that you have for all of us. Maybe it's right work for everyone. Maybe it's perfect self expression. Maybe it is open heartedness. Whatever it is, just allow yourself to be in this energy field and to feel it. And then invite this energy to move all throughout your body temple if it hasn't already, inside and out in your field. Allow it to inform your dreams tonight as you sleep. Invite it into your normal hood. Invite it into your normal. And so, from this place of wholeness and fullness and inclusion, I give thanks that God is at work. I give thanks that the discerning power of spirit is at work, fulfilling itself, and that I become a conduit through which this can happen. Feeling my feet grounded on the floor, I just know that this vision is a grounded vision. Again, I don't know how it comes into form, and I don't need to. I just know that it does. And so I give thanks for this divine presence of God that is pure love, and that this love is radical. This love is universal. This love is generative, and this love blesses. And so I just give thanks for this love. I give thanks for each one of us that are here this day on YouTube. I celebrate and give thanks that God in all of its good is in operation everywhere present. And I claim the wisdom and the ability and the eyesight to be able to see it. Ah. And so for this and for our beloved country and for all of the leaders, I do give thanks. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. And when you're ready, feel free to open your eyes. And I want to give thanks to you for being willing to play in the field with me tonight. And I invite you to leave a comment. So there's something that happens with the algorithm with comments and with subscribing. So if you'd be kind enough to subscribe and kind enough to leave a comment, I'd greatly appreciate it. I will keep you posted about this prosperity class that I'm taking and what's coming out of it. And I will continue to share what's going on in my life as a spiritual being on this earth plane with talk and practice every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for who you are on this planet. You are loved and you are beloved. Blessings, dear friend.